Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We have another power session here from the show floor at IRE with John DeLaurier, now of ProLine. You've gone full-time in ProLine. That's pretty exciting. Firstly, to get us started off, we have opened up a brand new integration with ProLine. We've deepened our existing integration. Everything from your Roofle account can go straight into ProLine and can funnel right into your automations. And we've really dialed that in for you and tried to make it as simple as possible. Now, automations are relatively new. I'm not even super well versed in them. So the first thing that I want to do is get you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about ProLine, and I've got a couple other things I want to run into from there.
Sure. Yeah. So I was a roofing contractor for almost a decade, just sold my roofing business, and I'm fully head of partnerships at ProLine now. But I was a Roofle user from the very beginning as a contractor. So I saw it from that side, and I saw how powerful Roofle is and how Roof Quote Pro really did help us not just be a lead magnet, but also sell jobs. Mm-hmm. So what makes Roofle better for a lot of roofing contractors is having an automation connected.
Yep.
And so everybody talks about automations. You are trying to give a customer an amazing experience. You should be focused on that. If you're not, you need to think about the homeowners now have way higher expectations than even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So what ProLine does differently than most people is that each company, every member of that team who communicates with a customer at any point, they have a unique local phone number for their ProLine account. So if a homeowner it's 8:30 at night on a Thursday, the person who answers your phone, it could be inside sales, it could be an office manager, it could be a receptionist, they're going to send an automated text and an email to that customer after they fill out a Roofle. They get a price. This is amazing. Well, they're not expecting to get a response at 8:30 at night, but then your company sends a text and an email, and they have that beginning of that relationship starts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
It's a huge, huge deal for giving that wow factor and having those touches before the proposal even happens for your company.
I like that concept because it plays on our kind of slogan running into the end of 24 and rolling into 25 is we've been talking about sell roofs in your sleep. That's kind of what you go to our website, that's the main page, sell roofs in your sleep.
Yep.
And that ability to actually do that, because obviously customer gets a quote and that's great. And then typical procedure would be every morning, you open up your account, you call every new lead that's come in, either over the weekend or over the evening when nobody's in the office. You call out in the morning. Having all of that done, the customer might not reach back out to you right then at 8:30 at night, but they have all the info, they've had an introduction, they know who you are, and they know that you're responsive and active. So you might come in the morning, not just to, okay, we've got a bunch of leads that need follow-up, but leads that have already been contacted and might have reached back to you now that it's morning normal business hours and the customer is ready to say, oh, okay, yeah, I was, whatever the specific things they're looking for, whatever info that they need. That's the feature that takes Roofle as the powerful tool that it is and lets you actually put it right into your sales strategy without having to mobilize your entire sales team 24/7.
So true. The second part of that is not only are they starting that relationship, but they're able to schedule. If you change your automations to say, hey, thanks for reaching out, click this link, it can be 8:30 at night, and they've scheduled. So you may wake up the next day and you've got appointments.
Yeah.
So not just the beginning of a relationship, but you actually have your calendar getting filled up while you sleep. I love that. I mean, ProLine is a CRM that helps you sell more roofs, and people are always like, what does that mean? Using tools like Roofle and using the automations that ProLine has is exactly how that happens, because you are increasing your chance of selling every single lead that comes through your system.
Yeah. So now that's kind of the overview of ProLine and how you guys approach automation. Now, for somebody who is unfamiliar with automation, who is considering getting into it, can you give me like a brass tacks intro of like, how does automation really work? What are the actual practical steps to get it going? And how would you recommend somebody start using it? Do they start with go absolute max balls to the walls? Or do they start with the basics? What's your recommendation now?
So automations it's a really hot topic. It's kind of ambiguous term really, because what does that actually mean? Well, our definition really is it needs to be effective, but also personal too. So that's why we have the unique local phone numbers for every single one of the automations, because you've been calling and texting that person from that number. You want your automations to come from the same number.
Yeah.
It's not a random 6-digit number that's just randomly, who is this texting me? You know that it's John, the sales rep, that's been calling and texting me.
Yep.
So what I wanted automations to be in my business were something that was personal, but also effective. Mm-hmm. I would say if anyone's just starting out, they're scared about automations, there's 3 main categories for what ProLine does. And the first one, it's directly related to what you guys do. So it's speed to lead. You may have heard that term. It's lead sources like Roofle's Roof Quote Pro. A customer is being funneled that direction. They're filling out a Roof Quote Pro, and you're making sure that the automation responds to that lead source. That's number one.
Okay.
Number 2 is that you need to have a proposal that's amazing. Customers really want to have a high quality proposal, but salespeople are notoriously bad for follow-up. Mm-hmm. So another automation that's wildly effective is having, after you send the proposal, having sales follow-ups. We have them built in for 2 years. So let's say they get the Roof Quote Pro and they did not expect it to be X amount of dollars. Mm-hmm. They get sticker shock.
Yep.
Well, then they're like dragging their feet and they get 2 more contractors out there, and guess what? It's the same or similar price. And they're like, what do I do? So they don't respond. They freeze up, and the sales cycle extends. So typically we were around 10 days as our sales cycle. From initial inquiry to like actual contract, it would be about 10 days. Okay. Then towards the end of my business, it was more like 21 days. And then it's further extended out for a lot of people because the cost of material has gone up so much, labor has gone up, all overhead's gone up so much. So it's really important to have an amazing sales follow-up that continues on for more than a year. We have 2 years because we would sell roofs 18 months down the road. And sure. I was the only sales rep that kept texting because the automations were going.
Yeah, because you weren't even texting. Yeah,
that's right.
The automations do it for you. That's one of the parts that I really appreciate about automations is specifically sales reps are notoriously bad at follow-up, which is true, but also people in general are typically bad at follow-up, and it's really easy for something to just kind of fall by the wayside, right? For us and for a customer. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy for that to happen. But what automations let you do is be that one contractor in the market who doesn't let a customer slip, who doesn't let somebody fall by the wayside, even if it is 6 months later, 18 months later. You're not doing anything about it, but that customer can pop back up out of nowhere and say, hey, I am ready to move forward now. It took me 6 months to get used to the new prices of everything and the cost and work out maybe a way to finance this roof or whatever the case may be, but I'm ready now. And you're the only person. I talked to everybody else 6 months ago. I got 3 or 4 quotes. I haven't heard from anyone. Being the only person. And that's the other side is like, not even on those long cases, but a lot of times in a matter of a week or 2 weeks, so many contractors are never going to follow up.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel good about that lead. I don't think they were serious. I think they needed more time. And then you forget about it. You prioritize something new. You get a hot lead. You follow that instead. You never even get back with the final proposal.
That's such a great point. The number of times where I felt like it was we just didn't mesh. It wasn't a bad conversation. They were an ideal customer, but we just didn't mesh in the sales appointment. The number of times that the automation sold that person was wild. Because guess what? The other contractors also feel that way.
Yeah.
So we're all feeling like, oh, this person's maybe they've been screwed over by a contractor before and they're just really standoffish.
Yeah.
So then you just say the automations take the emotion out of that process. It's going to happen. You are going to follow up with that person. You said, hey, I'm going to follow up with you on Friday. The automations will do it, whether you feel good or not, or you're sick or you're driving or whatever it is. You're guaranteeing that sales activity every single time.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing, and we can probably wrap on this kind of general topic. So what type of content are you putting into those automations besides the obvious, hey, I'm John with XYZ Roofing? Is there educational material that you put in? Is there stuff about your business or about roofing in general, about the market, like different storm warning sort of things? Like, what are you putting into that automation?
So we want to make, a lot of people talk about 7 touches before the actual inspection. So somebody has an inquiry, they reach out to your company. You want to have 7 different touches to that customer before the inspection. So here's some examples that we did. We would say, hey, thanks for scheduling an appointment. Watch this 32-second video on what to expect during your inspection. So we would take time and film. We hired a videographer. We'd film a really professional but short video that would set expectations for you and the homeowner.
Okay.
And you would stand out because no one else is doing that anyway. So that's one thing we do. What to expect on inspection day. We'd embed it right there in the text and the email, the automation that went out. Another idea would be, how much does my roof cost? And you can kind of, in general, talk about like, this is what goes on during the, this is what the material we use, this is why we use complete system, this is why we maybe price different than other people. That's another video. The third one that we always did was what to expect on roof day.
Yeah.
You can choose to do that before the inspection, or you can choose to send that out automatically after the contract is signed.
Sure.
But like, it gives them an idea. Most people have never done their roof. And so they don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And when you have those touches with using automations, you're guaranteed those video links get sent. My goal was always like, hey, John. And you're like, hey, Mrs. Smith. And they're like, I've watched all your videos.
Yeah.
So
that's the ideal.
They feel like they know you.
Yep.
They've already built that they're starting to like you. And then you're building that trust.
Yeah.
So these are just some of the ways that you can use automations to further impact your experience with that customer.
Yeah, and that's kind of that ability to building that relationship. That's something that I talk about with our customers a lot, from the instant quote to showing up at your appointment. Is you have all of this time in there that automations can come in and do a lot of that work for you. But the goal being that by the time you get to that appointment, you're not doing a 2.5-hour sales presentation. That is the whole goal. Is why automate things? Why optimize your system for speed to lead, for speed to estimate, everything like that? If you're still going to show up, lug a bunch of samples out, and you're still going to do a 2.5-hour presentation. Is, hey, if you've done it right, if they got a price initially before they ever talk to you, and then they've gone through a series of automations, they've gotten information about your business and all of that stuff, maybe a nice handoff from inside sales to outside sales or whatever the case may be, by the time you show up, you've done all of that relationship building. You don't need to ask about their dog. You don't need to ask how long they've lived in the house, because you've built that time. Not to say that those things don't matter and you shouldn't do them. You don't have to do them anymore. The customer understands who you are. They know your business. They're comfortable with your business. And then you can get right to, hopefully, a 30-minute or less on-site sales appointment to, everything that you need to know. We're just here to fine-tune it, make sure we don't miss anything big, and go ahead and get this signed and get you on the schedule.
So true.
That's what we're looking for there. So last question for you, not related to automations necessarily. How's IRE though?
It's great. There's a lot of contractors, a lot of great vendors. I know you've been busy at your booth. You have a ton of people there. We have a ton of people here. And there's just a lot of, I love the industry, and it's changing too. The people that want to succeed in roofing, they know that they need to step up their game too. It's no longer the days of not using technology, using manila folders. You can't do it.
Doesn't work anymore.
You've got to step up your game so that you're able to provide that customer experience.
Yeah, this is where you get it. This is where you see what the industry's doing. Mm-hmm. This is where you learn what's new and what's on the edge. It's a first time for me, so I'm like a little bit swamped by everything. But it's been good. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun. John, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, man.